The number of news articles and leaks being published around next-gen consoles and the Xbox Series X have been pretty staggering, which isn't really healthy for me. I'm so freaking hyped for what 2020 will bring in terms of games and tech in general. I think 2020 will be a fantastic year for us gamers, but let's talk about the Xbox Series X for a moment. The latest, most recent news actually comes from Phil Spencer, head of the Xbox division at Microsoft. He posted a picture of the semi-custom SoC of the company's upcoming Project Scarlett Xbox Series X gaming console, and he made this his Twitter avatar. He said in this tweet that he's going to keep this SoC, is going to keep this chip inside of his pocket as it brings him luck. Now, the interesting part here is that this is the first time we get a glimpse of what Xbox Series X looks like in terms of hardware, and in this video, yeah, we gotta take a greater look at this, possibly answer the question how powerful the next gen Xbox Scarlett or Xbox Series X might be, and to get a better idea I figured it would be interesting to look at current Xbox One X and do some comparisons. But hey, if we're just meeting, my name is Robin, welcome to RB and Hardware. I hope you're doing fantastic. So Phil Spencer posted this picture of this rather beauty of a chip, and everyone is referring to this as an SoC. Now, what is an SoC and why should you even care? So the SoC, if you don't know, is the main engine that runs, the gaming console, unlike a traditional gaming PC where you'd find a dedicated CPU and a graphics card. So the way that the consoles are designed, they look a bit different, where instead of having two separate components, the CPU and the graphics card, we instead got something called an SoC or system on chip, and this chip represents both the processor and the graphics unit, both inside the very same chip if you like. Now, these are custom made, and what's cool here is that AMD is making both the processor and the graphics for Xbox Series X. We're going to get an 8-core Ryzen processor fueled by the Zen 2 architecture, and for graphics, AMD and Microsoft have selected the RDNA 2 with support for variable ray shading and ray tracing, and these chips are made by the guys over at TSMC, and yeah, indeed, we're looking at some very powerful stuff. If we take a greater look at this beauty once more, and if we put it right next to the Xbox One X, now in terms of size, they look very similar except for the slight color difference, and on first sight, it doesn't look like much of a difference between them at all. What's important to have in mind is the fact that Scarlett will be based on 7nm, which is a much smaller design compared to 16nm, which is what the Xbox One X is coming from. And what this means is that we're able to fit so many more transistors on this such smaller form factor in comparison to the Xbox One X, which again is made on 16nm. Microsoft refers to this chip as the Scorpio engine, and this chip incorporates a 2.3 GHz octa-core or 8-core CPU and a Radeon GPU with 40 compute units clocked at 1172 MHz, generating a total of 6 teraflops of graphical computer power. The graphics card unit is based on Polaris and the GCN design, and it includes 12 GB of GDDR5 RAM with 9 GB allocated to games, and all in all, pretty staggering specs. And so we take a look at this picture again. So even though the die size looks to be about the same size, the 7nm process gives the manufacturers so much more space to fill this in with a lot more transistors, giving us a lot more power in the end. And this begs the question, how much more power? And this is a very good question. Now, as far as I'm aware, we aren't 100% sure how RDNA 2 based GPUs will perform, but looking at previous presentations and keynotes from AMD give us a ballpark of what to expect here at least. Now, here is a screenshot showing the GCN architecture versus the RDNA design. Now, because Xbox One X is based on the GCN design, means that we can assume at least a 25% uplift in performance. Then again, Scarlett will be based on RDNA 2, meaning that these numbers will be even greater. How much greater? We still don't know. So let's take a look at the chip once more. On the upper left side, we find the with an Xbox logo, we got some text in the middle, and we got Project Scarlett printed on the lower right side. And as you can see here, we got an 8K marking on the lower left side. And while 8K is being marketed for next gen, the next gen consoles won't really be able to run games in 8K. This means basically we're gonna be able to decode 8K content, but it would be hard to actually render games in that resolution, because that would require an awful a lot of power, something not even the RTX 2080 Ti is able to do. But 4K and 60 FPS seems to be the new golden standard in 2020, thank God. Rumors also suggest 120 FPS in some games, and maybe we're gonna be able to see a similar situation here as we do right now with current generation, where we get to choose between, you know, image fidelity or performance. Let's say 4K at 60 FPS, or let's say at 1080p or 1440p and 120 FPS, for example. And this could be something game developers might enable for certain games. Now, this obviously brings us over to performance. So we have looked at the Xbox One X, but how powerful will Scarlett actually be? Well, if we gather all the information we have up until this point, all things considered, you know, the size of the SoC 7nm, as well as the big leak that Digital Foundry was first to report about, Xbox Series X could be as powerful as an RTX 2080. Let's take a look at this very interesting leak once more. So this leak is coming from no other than Digital Foundry, who has come across some very interesting details in regards to how powerful PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X will be. Now, of course, as always with this leak, you have to treat it with a scoop of salt, but Digital Foundry seems pretty sure that this data actually comes from AMD and that they haven't been tampered with. So what does the leak say? Well, the PS5 will have a GPU with 36 Navi computing units that will deliver 9.2 teraflops. This compares to the PlayStation 4 Pro with its 36 GCN compute power units that delivers 4.2 teraflops, or the regular PS4 model with its 1.84 teraflops. Now, what's important to understand here, and Digital Foundry also points this out, is that Navi teraflop delivers better performance than the GCN teraflops, which makes the comparison more difficult here. The GPU should also be able to switch between 3 different modes to allow hardware backward compatibility with PS4 and PS4 Pro, and this sounds fantastic. Now, in addition, PS5 will receive an unknown amount of GDDR6 memory running at 448 to 512 gigabytes per second, as well as an 8-core Zen 2 processor. In other words, Sony seems to be investing in a machine that balances performance with price to deliver a decent step compared to current consoles while keeping the price down. So what about the Xbox Series X then? So based on the information Digital Foundry obtained, they estimate that GPU will have 56 Navi compute units, which will deliver a data processing capacity of around 12 teraflops. In addition to that, we also get GDDR6 memory rated at 560 gigabytes per second, and of course an 8-core Zen 2 processor. And so it sounds like Microsoft is investing in a real beast for a console that will be priced a bit higher than the PlayStation 5 as a result. I'm not sure if Microsoft has full insight in what hardware Sony's got in mind for PlayStation 5, but according to Matt Booty at Microsoft, he had the following to say about Xbox Series X.
I think it will absolutely be the most powerful immersive console on the market.
Now, in all honesty, I think we should take comments like this with a scoop of salt, but please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, although neither PS5 or Xbox Series X has been fully revealed yet, it is being rumored that they are very close in terms of power. Now, in recent reports, it's revealed that Sony's next-gen console is ahead in terms of performance, but the gap is expected to be closer before release date. Several game developers are reporting that the game performance is better on PS5, but this is probably because the PS5 development hardware and software are in a more more advanced state than the Xbox Series X. And so when both consoles actually launch, the gap should be minimal to maybe even nothing, but still we gotta have to wait and see how this turns out. So a question I've seen a couple of times is, how is next gen gonna be able to render games in 4K and 60 FPS if not even the most high-end gaming PC can do it? The answer is again pretty simple. Microsoft and Sony will be using a combination of a method known as dynamic resolution scaling, and they will supplement this with something called variable rate shading to then bring up the frame rate and the resolution to 4K. Now, variable rate shading works by shading certain areas of the scene at a lower rate than the other without perceptible difference to the viewer. Anyway guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How powerful do you think the Xbox Series X will be? Are we looking at RTX 2080 performance? I definitely think so, but again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I'm going to keep reporting about next gen, so you don't have to worry about that. Now watch either of these two videos for more content, and I will see you over there.